Completely focus on your weakness XYZ and you feel ashamed. That is not how you conduct life. We see what is the strength in you. So everybody's strength does not have to be the same. That's how we are made. So you will have to figure out what you're strong at. And you will have to use your strength to fuel your passion. And your passion cannot be, I want to be settled, have a good salary, a house and a car. That is too little.
Speaker at Texas Children's Hospital, Distinguished Professor Dr. Chandernagore. Not only that, he is the Stanley Battersby Chair and Professor of Surgery, Director of the Indiana Center for Regenerative Medicine and Engineering, Executive Director of the Comprehensive Wound Care Center, Indiana University School of Medicine, Indianapolis. Boys, he is not new to our school. He is old as well as new. He belongs to us, but we are meeting him for the first time. He has been connected with the school since its inception. He passed out the Madhyamik exams from this school in 1982. And it is through his initiative that we have been able to meet him today. So we are very fortunate, sir. We welcome you to the school. I welcome you to the school on behalf of the headmistress, the assistant headmistress, the staff, the teachers and the students. So I would like to request our headmistress and assistant headmistress to welcome Professor Dr. Chandernagore by giving a bouquet.
O God, thou art truth and the origin of all knowledge. Bless our studies which we consecrate to you. Enlighten our minds, strengthen our memories, and direct our wills to what is right. Grant us to seek truth always and make us truly wise.
This is not a class. This is the time to really have some fun. So be in that mood. Don't be here to learn anything from me. You're going to have some fun. Okay? And in return, I'm going to ask that whatever questions come to your mind, speak up. And if you do, you'll be perhaps pleased to hear that some of the answers that we have are not quite what you thought. So this would be a good time to explore. Now, before I say anything, who am I and why am I here? So I'm here in India for a few days because on the 6th, 7th of December, I had a meeting with the Central Health Minister, and it was in Delhi, in his office. And then I met two other ministers. And this was about development of next generation industries in India. Where is the world going? And one of the things that I specialize in is the making of human body parts. So you heard Madam saying that I direct the Center for Regenerative Medicine in Kakinada Jute Mill on the other side of Ganges. Okay, and he was an engineer there. So I had a maternal, my mother's side home in Bandel. So there were no good schools there, so they put me, I'm the eldest son of the family, so they put me in Bandel. And my grandmother put me in this girls' school called Auxilium Convent. So I studied there for 3 years, after which they would kick me out. And then I was looking for a place to go, and in 1973, this school was founded. And not this campus, but the other one there, near the launch ghat. And I used to come from Jagatdol, cross the ghat, and then close to that place was this junior school campus. So that's how I came to know Aurobindo Vidyamandir. This I came to know much later, because the first years I was there. And so that school was founded in 73, I joined 74. And then our class, we did our Madhyamik in 1982. And in the meanwhile, I used to play in Kanailal, football. So it's no different than most of what you guys do. And I was not one of the best students of the class, okay? There were times when I did very well. There were times when I didn't care about studying. And frankly, when I turned back and I asked myself, I got serious about studying much later. And then after I got out of here, I went to Hooghly Collegiate School, so that was in Chuchuro. And you needed to have good numbers to get in there. And while doing that, I got pox during my higher secondary. So the higher secondary test went well, the results were not bad at all. But my doctor said, don't take joint entrance this year, do it next year. And in the meanwhile, so I spent some time studying something else, because now I had an extra year. And so I spent some time in presidency. And the current Vice Chancellor of Presidency, Anuradha Lohia, is a very close friend. When she was planning the Rajarhat campus, now Presidency has a new campus. You guys should take a look. I went there. 2 big towers in Rajarhat. And so I keep touch with them. And she said, Chandan, we should change our curriculum. We should have some new courses. You help us. So I developed the regenerative medicine curriculum for Presidency with the help of some of the teachers there. And some of those teachers also trained with us in the US. So it was easy to sort of coordinate. So obviously things are changing very rapidly, and let me finish this part of the introduction and go to the next part now, which is in general. Okay, now when I turn back, I see that we could have done things differently, and I will speak from my mind, and many of you may not like what I'm saying, but please bear with me, so that unless we are self-critical, you see, I run many scientists, and when we run scientists, what you do is you look at your weaknesses and you critically discuss them, so you can troubleshoot them. If you look away from your weaknesses, you cannot troubleshoot. So some of my criticism, I hope you take constructively and you apply to your life, and hopefully some of you will do very well. Now, speaking of very well, we go to school, and we are raised by our parents, and I've been now speaking to many parents, and generally there is a fear of what will happen in our future. Will we get a job? Will we get this? Will we get that? And that reduces, because you see, I have been living in Japan, my graduation is from Europe, I have been living in the US for a very long time, I lived in Germany, so I've been in 51 countries giving lectures. So through this time I have been noticing what people do differently than what we do. And I think we scare our kids. We as parents are most of the time not happy with how we did, and we transfer that scare from us to our kids. And let me try to help you understand what exactly I mean. Completely focus on your weakness, X, Y, Z, and you feel ashamed. That is not how you conduct life. When I form my scientific team, I have over 100 scientists that I lead. And when I form our team, we see what is the strength in you. So everybody's strength does not have to be the same. That's how we are made. So you will have to figure out what you're strong at. And you will have to use your strength to fuel your passion. And your passion cannot be, I want to be settled, have a good salary, a house, and a car. That is too little. That is too little. Your passion should be, you should be inspired. Look at, Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. Much larger scope. Your ambition should be much larger. And your ambition cannot be limited by where would you have a job and what salary would you make. If you went down that path, you will be another ordinary successful person. So my reading is, we in our country, this country, we have tremendous talent. I have been in all these countries. I did not see more talent that would exceed what we have here in India. But the viewpoint of people are very limited here. You go, even if you go abroad, it is not about going abroad and getting a job and buying a house and buying a car. That's really not your end goal. Your end goal is to transform humanity. And of course, you alone will not do that. But you will make a contribution for which humanity will remember you forever. And you have the capacity in you. It is just that you are not interested. It is just that nobody has really been able to light you up. Everybody that has weakness also has strength. Also has strength. So when somebody tells me, this guy got a 3rd division, and I sit down with that person for an hour, I can find out what is their passion and what is their strength. Unless you are otherwise sick, and say you have a dementia or a cognitive disorder, or we are humans, we have, that's separate. If you are a healthy child, the fact that you have failed or did not score well really does not matter. Really does not matter. What matters is to find out, somebody has to find out, what is it that turns you on? What is it that you're excited about? And the other subjects, you still have to study, and then you'll be all right, get some score, whatever. But then eventually you purpose yourself in that direction. Somebody may be interested in cars, yet somebody may be interested in space, somebody else may be interested in energy, somebody else may be interested in health, so on and so forth. Find out what do we need to do to make sure that in your lifetime you see this country developed. It is not going to happen if you conduct yourself like the way you do today. Okay? So let me give you a little bit of a glimpse of what it takes. And I hope if this is boring, let me know. I will try to say the story in a different way. So far, okay? Okay? All right. So you see, there was a time when there was no fire. You know that in history. And then came fire. Human civilization changed in a big way around the existence of fire. Then came my time to memorize what is written in those books. That's how I felt. Because they were just having me cram, memorize without understanding. So I came to my father and I said, I'm not going to take the joint entrance. So my family was very upset because my scores were very good. All my friends were already in. So my father said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to study physiology and presidency. So I went there. And then I started reading a book they were teaching, and I went up to the teacher and I said, you're teaching me this, can you tell me how they found this out? You're teaching me this, and he said, yeah, that's a very detailed book. It's called Physiological Basis of Medical Practice by Best and Taylor. If you go there, they tell you how this knowledge is uncovered. So I went to College Street to buy. That time, it's 4,000 rupees. I didn't have 4,000 rupees. And the used one, the 8th edition. The new edition was the 11th edition. That obviously far more expensive. So I wrote a letter to the publisher in the US. And also wrote why I needed to have it. And long story short, I got one, free. Okay? I just had to ask for it. So when I got that, reading that book completely changed my understanding of everything I read so far. And in one sentence, and actually I said this in presidency in one of the lectures, and one of the students asked me a very interesting question, but let me finish this line of thought and I'll come to that. If this is boring, tell me, because I don't want to waste your time, because this is definitely not a regular class, as you can tell by now. So, interesting, thank you. So, when I was reading The Best in Taylor, I recognized one thing, which I never recognized in my life, and this does not only relate to physiology, but to all subjects I ever studied. One thing came into my mind, is all these books I studied so far only tells me what those people think are right. The books are not right. I'm not saying everything you're studying is wrong. So try to understand what I'm saying. Whatever facts you have in books keep changing over time. And when you study, it is only at that time, not even at that time, many years ago, what was found that has been now put into a textbook and you are supposed to accept. As a child, I took that as the word of God, my mistake. So from that point, I told myself, I'm not going to believe anything until they give me proof of how this was discovered. And at that point, my mind was made up to be a scientist. But who cares about a scientist who can't even afford 4,000 rupees, hanging out in Calcutta, and everybody's going to throw stones at you if you're not into IIT or AIMS or something of that nature, some competitive school. So I decided, if the books are like this, then I should do something. So I bought 150 rats. 150 rats. I used to do a lot of tuition, teach, from 4 a.m. before I went to presidency, I used to teach students. So I used to make 6,000-7,000 rupees a month. And afternoon, my parents didn't know, they would kill me if they do. We had a car, an ambassador car. And I used to do some shuttling from Taratala to Planet, make some money. So between that, I had a good amount of money with me, okay? Now that part, parents cannot know. If they did, I would be in deep trouble. So anyway, I used all that money to buy lots of cages. Then, I figured that type of money I cannot buy chemicals. Research chemicals are very expensive. So, I didn't give up. I went to a company called Organon in Dum Dum. And I told them, look, this is what I think, and I would like to prove this. And I need a few chemicals. They said, we don't waste our chemicals and stuff. So somebody said, why don't you submit that to our boss? So I did, the R&D boss, and they gave me free chemicals. I took the chemicals. Then, and this is when first year BSc, okay? 85. Then, whatever little thing I could do in the lab, fine, but at home, fine, but my mother was very unhappy with me. It was stinking. We had a big house, but still you could smell the rats, and she said, get out of here, take your rats out of here. So I went to my aunt's place in Behala Chaurasta. I said, will you give me a floor? I need to keep my rats here. So she gave me space. Today, then the aunt sold the house, I own the house now. So it's a 3-story house in Behala Chaurasta. And the top floor was my lab. And after I worked on it for a year, in 1989, the International Union, all these, ask the chemistry professor, they will tell you what is UPAC. Every subject has an international union. And in physiology, it is called IUPS, International Union of Physiological Sciences, where all the Nobel Prize winners and everybody comes, 10,000 scientists, a big deal, okay? So 89 was the centennial IUPS in Helsinki. So what I did is I took my finding, and they had something interesting, which is that from every country of the world that participates, they will fund all expenses for one student. All expenses, right? And so I got curious, and I saw who wins it all the time. AIMS Delhi, AIMS Delhi, AIMS Delhi, AIMS Delhi, All India Institute of Medical Science Delhi. Of course, they have the best lab, they have the powerful professors. And I had no professor over me, I was all by myself. And I was only doing class, whatever it takes to sit in the exam. Long story short, I did get the gold medal, but I didn't attend classes. I'm not saying don't do that, okay? I'm just telling you my bad story. So you separate out, don't follow me, just listen to me. And then what is good for you, you pick. I'm here telling you the story. So, 89 is the conference in Helsinki. So we submitted the research paper there. Long story short, I won it for India. All my expenses covered. Now I will go to Europe. And by that time, I was in first year MSc because time has passed. And so I go there. And there I see, of course, I present my work and everything, but that's not enough because I was seeing everybody who wrote the books were there. I can see all of them. I said, wow, it's the first time I felt, something very strange. I said, my life was changing, I could feel that. So then when I went to the notice board, it was said that there's a fellowship interview going on. And there are many people like me who will be willing to help you, and you should just ask for your way. You have the right to succeed. And success is much bigger than most of you, what you think. Okay, so with that, I think I'll conclude this, and to the extent you're interested, I'll be happy to take questions. Thank you again.
Is used for replacement about broken or damaged organ.
Prosthetics today, so again, what you perhaps know of prosthetics, and then the prosthetics is heading in a direction. Prosthetic is heading in the direction of what is known as regenerative rehabilitation. So let me give you a quick example how the two are completely separate and how they can be overlapping. When you have a prosthetic, say I have an amputated leg, and you saw those, South African runner and all, high-speed running with a prosthetic. It's not a part of your body. It is a physical structure that is weight-bearing. In regeneration, that organ, blood flows, immune system, you are restoring your body. In prosthetic, it is a support system. Point number one. Point number two. One of our work, my colleague Ajay Seth, S-E-T-H, Ajay Seth, Google him up. So what we reported is, so he made a prosthetic hand where this is made of some polymer, not skin, muscle, flesh. But when you hold a glass, you can feel the pressure. Do you know what is haptic feedback? Haptic feedback is when you hold a glass, if you don't get the pressure on your hand, you will hold it too hard and crush it. So your brain tells you enough hard, it will not fall, and then you stop. That's haptic feedback. So you're holding the glass with a prosthetic hand, but you have haptic feedback. Point number one. Point number two is you take the finger of that hand, the hand comes off the body, right? So if I program it with you, and I go 50 feet away, and I drop the finger in boiling water, you will jump here up and down in pain. So the hand talks to your brain. Already done. Look at Ajay Seth's video, you will see. So prosthetic one day was a piece of wood supporting you. And then now you have these runners that they're using the spring type feet for fast running. But then there is this new discipline called regenerative rehabilitation. Regenerative rehabilitation. So that is the place where prosthetic starts becoming a part of your body? Very good question. Thank you.
Sir, I have another question. I'm really curious to know what results did you found from the experiments which you conducted on the rats?
Yeah, like she asked. Yeah. So this was an endocrinology question. And I am, of course, when I turn back and I look at the experiments I did, I feel ashamed now because it was so rudimentary, but it provided so essentially, a new reproductive function of the cerebellum was found through that work. So I was ablating particular centers in the cerebellum to look at the reproductive function of the rat, and we ended up finding something that was new. So it was not so much about what was found, it was more like that you can create knowledge. Was very exciting those years to me. So I hope that also tells you, so a book is not something that is there just to learn. A book is also to question the facts retained in the book. So I hope that makes the point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There is a function that stem cell regeneration of any organ system. There is a many possibilities that from stem cell regeneration work and it is successfully work in regeneration of organs.
Okay, I think she's asking about stem cells and its role in regeneration. So, madam, if I'm running over time, you stop me, okay? Until then, I'll keep talking. Okay, all right. So, you see, when anything you put, there will be a side effect, but these are not harmful chemicals. Yeah, so this is not a drug that you're putting, that your liver will go bad or something. But if I gave you the answer no, that would be too quick of an answer. So because this is a new field, we will have to keep watching in people and seeing what type of long-term effects. But so far it is good because we're not using foreign chemicals that are likely to have side effects that we already know. Thank you.
Personally, I must share my emotions that when I was listening the story of his life, I felt that I was listening a fairy tale of a prince of knowledge. Really, he is a prince of knowledge. What I have discovered in him, he's a very good teacher, actual teacher, who can motivate us. Students, you don't look at you can't. You just focus on that point, that what you can. That is the main focus. When you did get any poor marks in examination, I have told you repeatedly that examination is not the final destiny of your life. You just explore yourself. And sir has told you so clearly that I am overwhelmed. And thank you, sir, thank you so much. And I hope that you have also enjoyed with us and with our students also. And I wish that very nearly we will come again and we will enrich by you. And thank you, sir. Thank you so much.